Hello, hello. Regis Kilbin is the name, and Heroes of the Storm is the game. Today we are going to be looking at what I'm calling, quite simply, the top talent build for Thrall. Now that doesn't mean it's the most common or the sorry about that. Does not mean it's the most common or the most popular build of Thrall players worldwide. It means that as a master level Thrall player, this is my top talent build. I've played Thrall a lot. I love him, and through a lot of trial and error, I've determined that this is the most successful build for me, and it should be the most successful build for you as well. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Thrall's talents. I'm gonna assume you're already pretty familiar with his abilities, as they're not too complicated. So let's just jump right into the talents. At level 1, we're gonna start with Rolling Thunder, which increases Chain Lightning's range by 30%, and attacking enemies recently hit by Chain Lightning restores 10 mana. So this talent gives Thrall a couple cool tools in the early game. You'll notice that when you hit something like a minion, let's go ahead and turn minions on so you can see this here. You'll notice that they have these cool little blue lightning balls on their chest. And when you hit anything with that blue lightning ball on its chest, you will restore 10 mana. So Thrall is a complete mana hog, especially in the early game. And having that talent allows you to sustain in lane a little bit longer and be ready for the first objective on any given map more often. So that's the first thing Chain Lightning does. The second thing it does is increase the range by 30%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually huge because it is so good at securing kills for fleeing opponents. It can even do cool things like if they're behind the wall, chain lightning onto someone standing back there. So no matter how far away they seem to be, they're still typically within chain lightning range. So Rolling Thunder does a cool couple things. Some people will get block just for an extra defensive edge. Some people will get Seasoned Marksman because they just want to be all about that damage, but you can't do damage if they're too far away, and that's what Rolling Thunder gives you. So, moving on to level 4, this talent kind of goes back and forth depending on which patch you're in or where in Venom stands. And Venom used to be the top pick far and away at this talent tier, but since it got nerfed and it takes 10 seconds for the damage to roll out, in Venom it's not quite as good. Which means for the top talent build for Thrall, we're actually going to take a flyer and go with Ride the Lightning. We just upgraded our Chain Lightning on level 1. Now we're going to go ahead and upgrade it on level 4. This is not a Chain Lightning build by any means, but just so happens that our first two talents are going to be Chain Lightning. The reason we like Ride the Lightning is because it does a couple things, much like the first talent. It allows you to hit more minions in a wave. I'll show you this. So you go from hitting 3 things at once to hitting 5 things at once. So you'll see that just keeps chaining on and on, which means you can now get 50 mana back if you hit all of those minions with the blue spheres on their chest. You'll notice Chain Lightning only costs 40 mana, which means in the early game, if you play it well with minion waves, you can kind of have an infinite source of mana, especially with a Malfurion standing next door. But that's the first thing Chain Lightning does. The second thing it does is that it helps you proc your Frostwolf resilience even more. So it gives you a little bit extra health, a little bit extra mana. It's great for early game wave clear. And it's also not too bad in team fights, because you'll notice enemy teams have 5 heroes, not 3 heroes. So if they're close enough, you're going to be hitting every single hero at once. And that kind of poke damage, it may not seem like much, but it certainly adds up over time and through a big team fight. So moving on to level 7, this is where Thrall starts seeing glimpses of just how good he can scale and how good he can be in the late game. And that is because of Wind Shear. Reduce the cooldown of Wind Fury by 4 seconds. So Wind Fury's original cooldown was 12 seconds. We just decreased it to 8. And Wind Fury is really your go-to damage ability for Thrall. It allows your attacks to just go absolutely insane. You attack so fast and hit so hard that you just shred any enemy opponent. So the more often you can get this ability up and going, the better. Team fights typically last longer than 12 seconds, so you'll need multiple instances of Wind Fury going off as quickly as possible. That also means you heal more with Frostwolf Resilience, so it's really just all upside on Wind Shear, especially when you see our talent choices at level 13 and 16, which capitalize on Wind Fury even more. So at level 10 for Thrall, we're going to take Sundering, which is a 70-second cooldown area of effect ability that after a short delay sunders the earth in a long line, dealing 820 damage and shoving enemies to the side, stunning them for 1.5 seconds. So here is what Sundering looks like. It's a pretty cool effect. It's absolutely fantastic for setting up team fights. It locks down opponents, so you can just really get in there and go ham with Wind Fury. And if you do it well and aim it correctly, you can set up big combos with your teammates. What many Thralls will do incorrectly is split the enemy team with Sundering, and some dudes will fly up here and some dudes will fly down here. So your Jaina's dropping AoEs up here, your Kale's dropping AoEs down here, and nobody's really dying. What you really want to try to do is aim Sundering in a way that it pushes all enemies into one clump along the sides, so that your team can line up effects and abilities more easily. So just be careful with that. Earthquake's not a bad ult for certain compositions, but it really just doesn't have the general utility and combo setup potential that Sundering has. Sundering can also be good to lock down a fleeing opponent, because you'll notice it has super long range. So if somebody's right down there with a little bit of health, guess what? Sundering kills them. Now for level 13, Thrall starts to get a lot better once again, and that is because of a talent called Grace of Air. Wind Fury attacks grant twice as many stacks as Frostwolf Resilience. So Frostwolf Resilience is what's going to heal you. You'll notice I'm going to take... No, I can't kill that too fast. Let's refresh our forts here and take some damage. So right now we have one charge of Frostwolf Resilience. So we're taking damage, we're taking damage. So watch what happens when we Wind Fury. Heal. Big heal, and we went from 1 to 2... But we healed once, so that means we gained 5 stacks of Frostwolf Resilience at once. Is that right? Something like that. Anyway, you'll be gaining stacks twice as quickly, which means you'll be healing twice as quickly as well. Which, it's not going to do extra damage, but it's going to keep you alive for longer. And because you're a melee assassin who really has to get in the thick of things, extra heals are a very, very good thing. Now, level 16... This is where Thrall goes absolutely crazy, and he just starts destroying anyone in his path, and that is because of a little old talent called Tempest Fury. The final strike of Wind Fury hits 3 times for 75% normal damage. Now I can't believe this is actually a thing, because it's just so insanely good. It just seems unfair. So watch this here. Watch our Wind Fury. We're hitting for 548 normally. Watch this. Oh, well, we kind of killed that tower too fast, but you'll notice 548, 548, and then that final Wind Fury hit, we hit for 411 damage 3 times in a row, which means we did 1200 damage of burst instantly. Now, we are level 30, so those numbers are a little higher than they would be normally, but you can see how quickly damage adds up when you're hitting with Wind Fury every 8 seconds. It's enough to practically kill squishies on its own. Just 1 or 2 extra swings and they're dead, and they're never expecting that burst that quickly, so healers really can't heal through it. They have trouble escaping in time. That's really the ultimate talent that defines Thrall right there at level 16, Tempest Fury. Once you get that, he is an unstoppable killing machine. And then finally at level 20, there are a couple good options here. World Breaker's pretty neat because your Sunder just goes forever. Bolt of the Storm is always good because it gives you escape potential, and also it gives you engage potential if you need to chase somebody down. But really, there is no passing up Nexus Blades. Yeah, it has a boring name. Yeah, it's a generic talent. But your damage, we were doing 548 before. Now you'll notice it's doing 658. That's a big boost. So 20 extra % of damage is a lot, especially when you're hitting as often as you are with Wind Fury. And getting 1 second slow on an opponent is pretty good for chasing them down, because sometimes it's hard to lock people down despite your wolf root and despite the extra speed you gain from Wind Fury. So Nexus Blade just gives you that final extra bit of punch that you need to kill a tough opponent. So this is really the ultimate top tier best build that there is for Thrall. You will absolutely destroy people with this. It can melt Muradin. It can certainly melt someone like Jaina in no time. And Thrall has really gotten better lately too, because they just kind of tweaked his attack animations to make him feel a lot smoother and easier to play. So his win rate is going up. This is the time to play Thrall. People still don't really know how good he is, but he is absolutely devastating in the right hand. So with this build and a little bit of practice, you're going to be completely unstoppable as the most iconic character in Warcraft, I would even say. I really think you'll enjoy this build. Give it a try. Put your faith in Thrall, and he will certainly reward you. Thanks for watching. Have fun, and game on.